So I have got with me Allison Davies from allisondavies.com.au, and she is a brain care specialist. Allison, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hi, Narelle. It's
Uh,
so nice to see you. Well, my background is in music therapy. I'm a neurologic music therapist, and I've been working in private practice as a music therapist for many years. But over the last couple of years, what I've started doing is, instead of working as a therapist with children, I have been putting all my information together, going out around Australia and running workshops, teaching parents and teachers everything they need to know about supporting their brains and their children's brains, just so that all the behaviours and all the anxiety and all the overwhelm and overload and all of that kind of balances out and just chills out a bit. Brain care is not something many people talk about, but it's pretty
no,
important.
definitely. It's really important. And especially being a teacher, I've found like the information that you've been sharing has been really useful for me as a teacher as well as a parent. And that's why I wanted to interview you, because you've got like a wealth of knowledge that I think mums in my audience really would find really useful as well.
Yeah.
So could you maybe talk about sensory overload and how that sort of is affecting us in our day-to-day lives at the moment?
Oh my goodness. This is
I
like
know, huge.
the big the biggest topic ever. And I just think we completely underestimate the effect that sensory overload is having on us. Or we think that sensory overload is just for the children who, the autistic children, the ADHD, the children with sensory processing disorder. We sort of think that it's just a small group of people who experience overload. But in fact, we are all experiencing sensory overload, because our brains were not really designed to have as much stuff in our world as we do now. Our brains were sort of just designed to keep us alive. And so the functions that are really strong in our brain, because they've been doing this since the beginning of time, are like telling us when we're hungry, telling us when to reproduce, telling us when to sleep, just keeping our functioning happening, our blood and our breathing, like our heart pumping, and our emotions. Our emotions are a very strong force, because like our brain has been taking control of our emotions since the beginning of time. What our brain has not been doing since the beginning of time is analysing a million bits of data off the internet, listening to all of the world news from every single place in the world and trying to make sense of it. It has not been having conversations with 1,000 friends, because we can talk to anyone no matter where in the world they live. Our brain was not designed to deal with toys that have batteries and flashing things and moving things and sliding things and just stuff. The things that we expect our brain to do now is just so far more than what it was really ever designed to do. And it's only been in the last couple of generations where this overload has amped up. And our brain, evolutionarily, our brain can adjust over time for our new needs. But like, not this fast. In the last couple of decades, we have thrown so much more stuff into our lives, and our brain is just struggling to keep up with integrating it all. We literally, and when the brain can't integrate all the information around it because there's just too much of it, it puts us into the fight or flight space. And that is what anxiety is. So our brain sort of goes into fight or flight, and what we experience is anxiety. It's that on edge. It's the increased heart rate, the increased respiratory rate. It's the more likely to flip out over the small things. And it makes it harder for us to concentrate or focus or think rationally. And that's happening to not just the children with sensory processing disorder. This is just happening to probably almost all of us. And it's like our normal now. So we are living in a state of anxiety in a lot of cases, and it's our norm.
Yeah, definitely.
It's
And that's
crazy.
Yeah, mums, that's probably their thing. It's the overwhelm that you hear from them all the time. And it's trying to find that happy balance of and using strategies. So what strategies, maybe start with children, because of just 20 years of teaching experience, I've seen over the last 20 years how the classrooms have moved from not much to just bombarded. These kids are bombarded with posters, pictures, just so much in their faces, as well as technology as well. So maybe some strategies for that in either in our homes or for teachers who are listening.
Yeah, well, let's start with the classroom, because
Yeah.
it has, I know in the 90s, there was a big change. There was this self-empowerment movement where the education system was like, let's empower these kids. And it was lovely because it's all become a lot more child-focused, and we want to support their needs. We want to empower them to feel good about themselves. But in fact, the research has shown that whole self-empowerment movement didn't actually help children feel more empowered. But what happened was we started sticking up every single piece of artwork that they'd ever done on the walls. We did all this really beautiful, creative, colourful, wonderful stuff. And there is a lot of good in that. So I'm not dissing it. It's a beautiful thing that we can do that. But if you're just thinking about it from the brain's perspective and just thinking of it in terms of sensory information, we really added a lot more sensory information for our brains to have to integrate. So every single thing that's around us in our field that we can see or experience comes to our brain to be integrated. That is a lot of sensory information.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't necessarily want children sitting in a white, sterile classroom. So we've got to find an in-between. So some of the strategies are things like, I like to go through each of the senses and think, what can I quite easily reduce? So think of the visual field. Like stand in the room and look around and go, what from the visual field can I reduce or take away here without affecting the vibe?
Yeah.
And then the things that make noise. What can I take away from this environment that makes a noise that will not interrupt the vibe or be a detriment to the kids if I take this away?
Yep.
And there's things like, if all the kids are facing the front, maybe you can have all the art and all the exhibitions and everything displayed on the back wall behind them, or maybe having things hanging above them where they sit is always a big one. Classrooms, I find, always have things hanging from the roof.
Yes.
And like hanging bags and stuff instead of hanging them just on a hook, maybe being able to hang them behind a door, or just, I mean, in a lot of ways it takes a whole school approach to make this kind of change. But it's really important to not disregard the tiny changes that you as an individual can make. So you can make tiny changes in your classroom. And if everyone knew about this and the parents were making tiny changes at home, that all adds up to lots of changes, which adds up to less information to the brain, which can help keep the brain under its threshold of information that it can integrate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. So in the home, I know for ourselves, we've like, there's no TV on in the morning, and there is mindfulness sort of music, or Jimmy's actually taken to, I think it's Smooth FM or something that's on, that he obviously really likes that tempo of the music, and that has made a huge difference in our house. So what about some strategies for people in their homes that they could do with children, not necessarily with sensory needs, but just, for that calmer environment?
Our home is the one place that we have the most control over, really. Noise is a difficult one to control. So auditory information, the stuff that we hear, that can be hard to control. We can't control our kids. We can't stop the baby crying. We can't stop the kids talking and making noise. It's much harder. If we don't want to see something, we can close our eyes.
Yeah.
But you can't not hear noise. So that's a difficult one. But there are things, external noise sources like toys or radio. So listening to something like his Smooth FM, which is all music, and it's a style that he obviously likes, and it's the same style playing over and over. It becomes quite predictable. Our brain likes things that are predictable. But turn off the radio, because the radio is like talking, then music, then ads, then laughing, then you don't know what's coming next. And so there's a lot of unpredictable sort of stimulus that comes with the radio, and the radio can become sort of more like noise pollution, really.
Yeah.
So there are some noises and sounds you can get rid of. I think the biggest thing in the home is just to really actually start getting rid of stuff. Just literally decluttering.
Yep.
It makes an enormous difference, because you might not think that the mess or the stuff everywhere affects you, and it might not, but all the stuff that is in your house, your brain, every time you're in that room or walking past that space, your brain is getting that information coming to it, the sensory information. Everything you see, the sensory information comes through your visual field, goes to your brain, and your brain has to make sense of it and work out what to do with it. Yeah. Most of the time, your brain just deletes that information because it's not really important. But every time it has to delete the information, your brain is working hard. So it's climbing up its threshold of what it can deal with. Yeah. So literally just getting stuff out of your house.
Oh, no, I'm good at that. And I do feel every now and then it's like, okay, we need another declutter. You know, there's a lot of stuff around. And I'm really good at the 12 months. Okay, if we haven't used it and it's not useful, let's remove it. And we've got the school fete this weekend. So literally my car is chock-a-block full of toys, games, everything I've got rid of. But it was a great excuse, just having this fete, which is on this weekend, to get rid of stuff. But I've also heard of like having a virtual move. So moving house obviously is the best. But if we're not moving house, like just invent, okay, we're moving house. Next week, what can we do to eliminate some of this stuff in our house?
That's an amazing idea.
No, yeah.
I've never thought of it. And that's the thing, like decluttering and getting rid of stuff is never just something that gets done. It's just always an ongoing thing. Like I used to, when the kids were still young and I was getting used to just always having a messy house, I'd be like, but I've just done the cleaning. And it was like I thought that I just had to clean and then it was done.
Yeah.
And then I realised, hang on, it's never done.
No,
it's just a constant rolling ball of constantly doing it. And to be honest, that's what decluttering is like, because you're always bringing things in. And you get used to what you've got in your field and you sort of plateau with how you are, and then all of a sudden you can cope with less in your life because you are decreasing, and so your brain's threshold might change. And then you're like, what you thought was calm, now you're like, hang on, this is too much stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's a constant journey.
And that's the other thing that we have these boxes, so a box for each child. And, you know, it was the same. I'd go around picking up everything that was around the house and delivering it. And it was so overwhelming for me. But now we have these boxes and you just put it in the box. So when they come and go, where's my shoes? Where's this? Go and check the box, and they just go to that one spot. So it's one spot in our house where everything just gets dumped.
That is so good.
Great. So it's a one box each, and they just go and find.
So do they then go to their box and put their stuff away?
Yep. And at the end of the week when I've done the washing, we put all the clothes in there as well. So I don't put it in their room, I put it in the box. And at the end of the week, I'll take the box down to their room, give them a day. And if they haven't done it, I tip it out on the floor in their room and take the box back ready for next week's washing. And that's it. That was from another wellness coach. I got that tip and I'm like, wow, it works really well.
Do they care about the stuff? Have you ever had to tip it on the floor?
Yeah, they do. They get annoyed. I tell them, I give them a warning. Remember, if that box isn't emptied by tomorrow because I need it to refill it and I need it back down in the laundry, it'll be tipped on your floor. So one doesn't like that and gets really annoyed. The other one's not so bad, but yeah, they don't like it. They do. They then learn. So they empty it out and bring it back down on Friday. So
yeah, having a box, that's a good idea. Because when it's just all around you, and everywhere you look, the stuff, that's when it gets overwhelming.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, we could do more with the car as well.
Oh, God.
Most of us just have stuff on the floor of the car. And that's all just visual pollution.
Yes, that'd be my downfall, is our car. Even my husband Always complaining about the car.
Yeah, so we should take more, because we get in the car first thing in the morning
Yep.
to go to work or school or wherever. So first thing in the morning, we're leaving in this rushed manner, like, get to school, get ready, and it's always rushed. So we're already on edge, and then we get in the car, and if the car's got stuff all over it, like mine does, like I'm no angel, I might know this stuff, but, you know, you still have to work on it. Then that entire trip, there's visual stuff everywhere that your brain is already integrating all this information before you've even gotten to school. Yeah. And by then it's like working hard, and you haven't even started the day. So there's you know, decluttering and removing and minimizing sensory stuff makes an enormous difference. But then so this is a general thing.
Yeah.
But then there are people with very specific sensory needs who definitely have their own sort of strategies and things that they need. So, you know, if you or your child are working with an occupational therapist and you have specific sensory diets or something in place, this is just very general advice to help sort of reduce the anxiety, you know.
No, and that's great. That's what these mums are all asking for. How can I reduce the overwhelm? Yeah. Feeling. Oh, thank you so much, Ali, for some of those tips. We definitely have to have another conversation because you've got so much information to share that these mums will really, really gain some insight into. So thank you so much.
Let's talk next. Let's talk again.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries.
Okay.
Bye.
Oh, and so hang on before we go. So you give us your details, because I have got your Meltdown series and think it's amazing. What are your details for people if they are interested?
Okay. Well, I've actually got a webinar available in my shop called "What the Hell is Anxiety?" and why is it happening to my child and me? Because the thing is, so many children are experiencing anxiety. And it doesn't make sense. Like, why is this happening to children?
Yeah.
So I've got a whole webinar there, because the thing is, it's not about the triggers. It's not about, we think that we're getting anxiety because of the bills and parenting and our relationships and all that stuff. We think that is the reason for our anxiety. It's not. That's just the trigger. The anxiety comes from our brain. And that's why kids who don't have those triggers, like bills and boyfriends and stuff, it's the brain, it's the overload, it's the overwhelm. That is what's causing it. So I've got a webinar for sale in my shop.
Fantastic.
And we spend an hour just going over exactly what anxiety is, why it's happening, and how to manage it. So that's a really good one. But you'll also find on the shop there's the Meltdown series, which is a 3-part video series, everything you need to know about meltdowns. There's something on there about emotional regulation. And so there's a whole bunch of video resources. So just go find, it's allisondavies.com.au. Just go to the shop and you'll find them all there.
Fantastic. I'll put a link in that as well. But thanks again so much for your time, Ali.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Bye.
See ya.